This is a Gibson ES 339 in a cherry finish with the pearl dots instead of the block inlays. It was made in 2015, acquired it used. It has a little bit of wear in the plating on the tailpiece and the bridge. It is the original nut. There are no breaks, cracks, or anything really to be overly concerned with, but it does show signs of being played. And I would describe it as very good condition, not mint. Maybe not excellent, only because there are some signs of being played in the finish. I didn't really have to do anything to this. The guitar sounds to me like it's got a lower output vintage style pickup. I did not take the pickups out to look at them at all. There are some few light marks and pick marks on there. There's no cracking or checking in the finish anywhere. When I got it, the back of the guitar kind of had a dull look to it from being played and just wearing on the finish. I did take that and buff it out, but it isn't perfect. It doesn't look brand new. There are some really light scratches, vertical scratches going up and down in the headstock here, and I don't think it'll really show up on the camera, but they are there, and so if somebody buys this, I want them to know that that is there. It's a great sounding guitar, and it plays great. I didn't have to do really anything to this. Just kind of check it over. I think maybe I adjusted the truss rod, and that's about it. This thing is great. Now, compared to the 339 from the Custom Shop that I have, this one sounds more resonant when it's unplugged. Now, whether or not you buy into any of that is entirely up to you. In my experience, if I pick up an electric guitar that I'm considering buying, I usually will play it unplugged. And I just want to hear what it sounds like acoustically. And this one sounds very resonant in comparison to the Alpine White. For whatever that's worth, take it with a grain of salt if you prefer. All this guitar needs at this point is just a nice little cleaning to get the fingerprints and smudges off of it, and then ship it out to a new home. This is a Gibson ES 339 from the Custom Shop. It was made in 2005. I acquired it on the used market, and I could tell right away when I went to look at it that there were some issues from the factory. The original nut at the factory wasn't spaced properly, so it pushed the high E string too close to the edge of the neck. Also, this bridge isn't perfectly centered, and so I had to dress down the original saddles and re-space them. So now the strings are properly aligned with the neck, and the location front to back of the bridge is good, but just a little bit of production snafu that you sometimes see. Now this is a 2005, so this lacquer has had time to age and yellow. You can see a little bit of discoloration where the arm goes, which is not unusual. Now on the back of the guitar, you see this mottled, it looks textured, but it's very smooth. And what this is when they were at the factory with this, they buffed it and they got it too hot. Nitrocellulose lacquer is pretty sensitive to heat, and so the colorant that you mix into the lacquer base to give it the color, you have to stir it up, spray it on, and then you clear coat over the top of that. So when you buff, this color, where it is lighter, that's the colorant coming towards the surface, and where it's darker amber is more clear coat. So that's something that you would not have been able to see at the factory. When you buff lacquer, it'll get warm to the touch, which is usually fine, but if you get it too hot where it's uncomfortable to touch the surface, that's too hot. There are some finish checks around the fingerboard here on the bass side. There's a slight dent here on the lower bass side rib, and there's another slight dent on the treble side rib right here. Some finish checking around the binding there, and there is some marks from a hanger in the past at some point on there. But it's a 2005, so it's, you know, what, 14 years old, 15 years old at this point. So I'd say it's aged pretty well. The other work that I did to this guitar was give it a fret dress, crown polish, new nut, setup, and all of that. So with this guitar, you know, you could have a custom shop 339, not break the bank, and actually not worry about it keeping it pristine. I wouldn't be afraid to take this guitar to shows. There's also a little finish crack here and in the waist right there. I don't know if that'll show up or not, but there are some finish checks. Looks like another one here on the treble side of the waist. So I would describe this as good condition, not very good, not excellent. Functionally, the way it plays is excellent. Spacing's right, the action's great, there's no fret rocking. So it plays great, but aesthetic condition is probably good, not excellent or mint. Certainly not mint. Try to shred, dude. How the hell did that riff go?